Greetings, everyone. This is the Voices of Healing podcast. I'm your host, Tina Clark. I'm excited to announce that this is the beginning of season 2, and I have a wonderful guest with me today. His name is Julio Rivera, and he is the program director of SHAPE. And we're going to talk about the healing benefits of ayahuasca and psilos- psilocybin. I suddenly blanked on how to say it. Well, I'm really excited to talk to Julio because we're going to get into not only the plant medicine, but the spiritual medicine that's connected to that. And he's working with both. So, welcome to the show, Julio.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So, can you explain to the listeners who you are, what is SHAPE, and more of your background?
Well, all right. Yes. Well, I'm Julio Rivera. I am a book author, and I write under the name of Jules Henry Rivers. So my books in Amazon are under my pen name, which is the literal translation of my Spanish name. I am Puerto Rican, born and raised in Puerto Rico. I was a bank executive for 28 years. And in 1998, I had ayahuasca for the first time with a visiting shaman to Puerto Rico named Don Jose Campos. And he changed my life. Ayahuasca changed my life. So I was this executive living the empty life of, the rat race and the golf club and the lunch and all that empty money life. I was doing well financially, but empty inside. And ayahuasca really woke me up. And I began a process that I started. I became the organizer for ceremonies of Don Jose in Puerto Rico every year. 10 years later, I was in the jungle with Don Jose Campos, being his apprentice, and I got pretty involved in the mortgage crisis of 2008 that hit the banking industry hard. I saw that was the end of my career. I negotiated an exit with the management of my bank. I got some money out of it and began reinventing myself. And that reinvention was basically becoming an ayahuasca facilitator. By that time, I have moved to Florida because my bank, previous to my exit, had transferred me to Miami to deal with the toxic loan portfolio that my bank was having here. I still live in Florida, so I stay here for forever. And and then in that process, I got married. I met this incredible woman in an ayahuasca ceremony, and and we became couple and married. And in 2016, together we created a ayahuasca church in Florida. We have the protection of the freedom of religion laws of the United States, and we opened a branch of a Brazilian church in Florida, and then recently, last year, I exited the church and began a mushroom psilocybin mission because a couple of years earlier I had this experience with a special format, very different with what I have known before, and that changed my life too. So that was the beginning of my distancing with the church management, which was not opening up to the idea that I was experiencing other kind of sacraments other than ayahuasca, and that created this thing that ended up me walking apart from them, and I began the Shape, which is a program. I'm a program director now, and it's a very unique format for psilocybin spiritual healing, and we can talk a little bit about that later. But that basically, in a nutshell, my story.
Oh, okay. So does SHAPE stand for something?
Well,
Or
yes, Shape is a dual, letter game. It's shaped like a being in good shape. Our website is Shape My Life, but SHAPE means is an acronym for Spiritual Healing by Astral Parasite Extraction. So it's a very a weird practice that even the psilocybin community is not familiar with. So we are basically the arrowhead of this technology, healing technology that's coming out from the Tibetan monasteries in Tibet. It involves deep, closely guarded practices for many centuries in the monasteries are coming out, and we combine the Tibetan entity extraction techniques with high doses, heroic doses of psilocybin, and we create this magic. I was the first one to experience this, and with all my partners also around me. We decided that this is something that we cannot keep for us. This is something that has to come out to the world, and we initiated this mission, which is what I'm doing now. Besides still working for ayahuasca, I love ayahuasca, and it's a modern medicine. It's incredible. I do private ceremonies now. I'm no longer doing 10, 15, 20 people ceremonies. I am doing private ceremonies with coaching, dealing with specific issues, getting to the bottom of issues privately with people that really want to get there. And that's my ayahuasca work. But at the same time, in parallel with other two friends, an ordained Buddhist monk and a long-standing friend for many years, decades, who is also another ayahuasca facilitator, began this mission. And we do these retreats, and that's what we are called SHAPE retreats. So this is the name of our organization.
So when you were doing the ayahuasca ceremonies, were you aware that there were maybe entities or spirits that were attached to people at that time?
Interesting question. Very, very good. Yes. What happens is when I first learned about this, which it came from this Russian guy that practices this with Russian people from Russia in Jamaica. I learned about him and met him, and he explained me his protocol. I was fascinated. I was fascinated because I've been drinking ayahuasca for 27 years. I've been a facilitator for 15, 17 years. And I have, in my bag, hundreds of experiences, both firsthand testimonials from people that just finished the ceremony with me, and my own ceremonies that I have drink. I lost count of how many times I have drink ayahuasca. So, but what happens during the church work for 8 years, from 2016 to last year, 2024, there's a number of cases that most facilitators or many other practitioners of ayahuasca are familiar with, which is that a participant in the ceremony gets totally crazy and out of control. And that happens like very rare, like 1% of the times. 1 or 2 people out of 100 react like that. But after hundreds of ceremony, I have, more than a handful of situations where that happened. And I was very curious about what's going on with these people. I mean, normally I was the person that took charge of a person. I would take care of a person, removing the person from the ceremony because it's disturbing others, and then privately handling and trying to calm them down. And these people that are cursing and some of them become violent, and you have to tie them down to control them until the effects recede and they're back to normal. And when they're back to normal, they get hot soup, they relax, they go back home, everything is fine, it never happens again. But I used to look at their eyes and try to make connection, and these people were possessed by something. I mean, I was convinced that this is not the person that I'm talking to. The few times that I was able to obtain some response, it was a response that it was not from the person. it was more an entity that was possessing this person for this moment. And the way I was visualizing this, the way I felt it, because they were expressing this pleasure of being in the body of this person. And it was like I saw it like it's like a spirit that is there enjoying a joyride. I mean, was able to find a physical vehicle to exist in the third dimension, something like that. Because they were like I and tasting the joy of having a physical vehicle. So I saw this is not Joe, this is not Mary, this is something else that is there enjoying this vehicle. And but that was the most I can get out of it. I was not an expert in that kind of thing.
So, did you have shamans that were part of the ceremonies, the ayahuasca ceremonies?
Well, I act as a shaman, but I
Okay.
don't like to call myself shaman. I call
Okay.
myself facilitator. I mean, shaman is a word that is being appropriated by the Westerners. I
Hmm.
mean, a shaman is an indigenous person that was born and raised in an indigenous community and have this paradigm of reality which is magical and is not scientific at all. Uh, this is a shaman for me. And if you
Hmm.
see a blue-eyed white guy calling himself a shaman, uh, I run away. Uh, you
The
know,
reason why I ask is because a shaman, like a true shaman, would be able to deal with those kind of
true,
situations and
true.
tell you,
And not
you
all of them. Not all of them. This is
okay.
for, this is for advanced shamans, for real shamans,
Mm,
and those are it's a species in extinction, even Peru and Brazil, because the television and and Western education in schools have have contaminated the mindset of the magical mindset of the shaman. And most shamans are, they have TV in their houses, and they're traveled outside Peru or Brazil. I mean, they're westernized. The real shaman from the tribe, that's hard to get. And these are
yeah,
the shamans that have the capacity to remove these entities.
yeah.
They they, they bite, they suck their bellies or their heads, and they vomit themselves, throwing that out. These are advanced shamanic practices that not every shaman today are capable of doing.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. I mean, I practice shamanic healing, so I've been doing the same thing for years. Um, so yeah, I was not able to grow up in an indigenous tribe. Would I
Uh-huh.
would have liked to? Of course, I would have loved to, but I do shamanic healing, and I've been doing it for years.
Nice.
So I do call myself a shaman. You can call me a shaman. Other people have called me that. They've called me shamanic practitioner.
Yeah, you practice shamanism.
Right. I
Yes,
practice shamanic
but
healing.
I've been influenced a lot by this cultural appropriation thing,
Yeah.
uh, which I don't believe in it, because the evolution of the ideas, this is everything. Everything is about appropriation. I mean,
Yeah. And
we
plus
appropriated from the
we're
Egyptians, we appropriated from the Greek. I mean, from the
right.
Romans. Evolution is appropriation.
Right.
Uh, but I wanted to be politically correct, and
Right.
I decided to call myself a
I
facilitator.
get that. I get that. But like there are people, true, talented shamanic healers out there that did not grow up indigenous and
Okay,
they're doing very good work.
I'm
So
just so curious. I want to learn from you. I'm
so
open. I open for learning. I'm a sponge of always getting open to learn and to modify my
so
paradigm
let me
my
ask you a
paradigm of
question
reality. Yes,
about the 1 to 2% of these people. Um, do you feel like they had the attachment when they started drinking the ayahuasca, or did the attachment happen during the ayahuasca ceremony? What is your intuitive take on that?
my intuitive take is that the ayahuasca opens up the gates of the subconscious, the psychedelic experience. The ego goes into a corner, like the default mode network that now is called. It's basically neurological equivalent of what the ego is, which is like the director of the orchestra, all the inputs that you have in your brain, and make you feel that you are one thing. But when you break that with psychedelics, you are everything at the same time, and this is the psychedelic experience of this visionary. Your ego breaks apart, and you don't have this cohesion of being one thing, and that's great. This is a great contribution of psychedelics for spiritual healing, because that's the opportunity to discover those hidden parts, those encrypted programs that are stored in the closet somewhere in your subconscious, and you learn about them, forgotten memories, traumas that come out. So in that moment, this is when these entities show up. So I think when that happens, is that this entity were already there for a long time, and hidden behind, under the cloak of consciousness. And when this opens up, they have, in some of them, and sometimes they have the opportunity and they take over
Yeah.
their nervous system, and they become them, and they act, and they, wow, I'm here. And that's what I perceive in these experiences, that these entities were like having a joyride in this avatar.
So once the effects of the ayahuasca w- wanes and goes away, these entities go away too, or don't seem to be
I
taking
think they
over
go
anymore.
back. I think they go back to their place
Okay.
where there always has been, in the darkness, in the unconscious. I think that when they come out, they're always there. They don't. I don't think you get them from the outside, from the guy next to you in the ceremony, or you get them from the shaman. I think you always had it. It was hidden. It comes out, and then when the ayahuasca comes on, he comes back and
Mhm.
and hides again, and is unable to operate the machine, the human machine.
Yeah,
Uh,
but they're
but it,
still
it but
compromising the
but
person that they're
it
attached
keeps
to.
their strings attached to the conscious, and it influences behavior, it influences tendencies, preferences, because it's the demon, this entity, this whatever it is that is acting, is influencing. This is what shape is all about. It's removing these astral entities.
Okay,
So
so how did you get into the removal aspect, and obviously you realized there was a problem with 1 to 2% of people on ayahuasca, and then why use psilocybin in this process? Like, what's the process?
okay, well, there's a story behind that. So yes, I thought that there was something problematic that I couldn't understand. I mean, I was a book. I wrote a few books about ayahuasca. The first one is Ayahuasca Wisdom. I brought this problem in the book in one of the chapters, and I didn't find, I couldn't find a literature in the internet about that phenomenon. So I decided to coin the term myself. I call it VIRS, Visionary Intense Release Syndrome, uh, or peers, like psychedelic intense release syndrome. It's a syndrome that occurs from time to time. A syndrome is something that is a combination of factors that are not totally explained. And I think this is, I coined it a syndrome. It's a visionary syndrome. And, and that was it. I just labeled it and put it on a shelf for future understanding of what's going on. So I identified the problem and I put a name on it. But then I met this guy that who had a protocol for removing these entities. And the way it happened, it was like a common friend, a friend of his, that's a friend of mine. He is into the mushroom missions, and he wanted to write the Mushroom Manifesto, okay, a little book about the messages of the mushrooms to humanity. And my friend, our common friend, said, "Hey, you have to meet Julio, Jules, because he wrote the Ayahuasca Manifesto." I wrote the Ayahuasca Manifesto. It's a viral PDF book. I launched in 2011, uh, and it was channeling work. I had this experience with Ayahuasca that channeled this content to me with the mission of publishing it to defend her from the attacks that she will be getting in the future. So in 2011, I published this book and anonymously. So my name is not in the book. It says anonymous, the author. But a few people knew that I was the one, including this friend, that then told the Russian guy, hey, meet Julio, he already wrote a manifesto. He can help you to write the mushroom manifesto. So I met the guy. And we had dinner, and then we exchanged notes. And at the end of the dinner, he said, well, you know everything I asked about me. Tell me about mushrooms, about you. And he come up with this. And I was like, my jaw dropped. I say, what? Removing them? Actually removing them with this technology of extraction from the Tibetan mystery traditions? That you realize, like, what? And so it freaked me out. And I'm very interested. So he invited, I mean, my scientific curiosity popped up and took over. And I was so excited about possibility of learning what it's all about. And he said, listen, you are ready. You are an ayahuasca facilitator. You've been taking ayahuasca for so many years. Anytime that you want, I do a session for you. And then it was not a session. It was 4 consecutive sessions of heroic doses of mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms of 10 grams and up per session, 4 days in a row. You say, whoa, wait a minute, that's very, I step back a little bit and let me think about it. But it reached a point when I was ready to the challenge and I experienced firsthand that. And the demon that I extracted in my third ceremony under that format, it convinced me that this is it. It changed my life. I had something that for 25 years the ayahuasca have been unable to remove. And then in one session, my first session, I went back to the more advanced point where ayahuasca had took me with that issue and completed the journey of full healing. So it was fantastic. So I said, wow. So I became a believer that day. And then I asked him to do a retreat for my inner circle of friends, of healers, and that started it all. And
Yeah.
every one of them got this incredible transformation. And at the end, we decided, 3 of us, to launch Shape because and then so we have the blessings from the Surah Shanghai. Okay, you do whatever you want, you're free. So we created our own model, basically combining the Jungian uh, shadow work with the Tibetan astral parasite extraction techniques. And it's a very unique model, very powerful. It's not for everyone, uh, but it's mostly for people that have experienced all their healing modalities and still feel that there's something down there they don't feel totally comfortable with the
Mhm.
level of well-being that they were expecting in their healing journey. So they know that there's something else, but they don't know what it is. They cannot pinpoint it. Come on, come to Shape. We're gonna show you. And this is and when I speak about potential participants for Shape, they don't leave me, the ones that are ready for this. They don't leave me finish my presentation. They go, stop right there. Stop. No, I want that. That's for me. They at the soul level, there's a messenger that tells them, this is it. I want to do this. And these are the participants that we take. If we have to convince you, we're not interested. You're not ready.
Yeah. So how do you know that they have an attachment? I call them attachments. They're
Yeah. We don't
attachment.
know. We don't know if they have an attachment.
Okay, it's just
We
based
we
on
rely on
their
they rely on their
desire to have
they
a
rely on their
ceremony.
drive. Something is
Hmm.
telling them to do this. And if that happens, it's because the soul is pushing them to do it, because the soul wants to, higher self or whatever you want to call it, wants to get off this thing that is obstructing the well-being and the ascension, spiritual ascension of that person.
Yeah.
And when they go there, they see it. Boom! It comes out. When if you want to have, if you want it, you will ask for it during the
Right.
experience.
You have to ask the right question.
Oh, you have to ask the right question. I mean, I mean, if you don't ask the right questions, nothing's gonna happen.
Right.
If you stand there waiting, I mean, you just have a psychedelic experience, colors and this and that, because it's a high dose. But but that's what we prepare the participants before in a few Zoom calls, training them about what's going to be doing when they come to the retreat. So when they arrive there, they're ready and they're prepared to invoke these negative energies to come up, because I want to see you, I want to watch you, I want to see where you come from, I want to see uh, who you are, I want to see how you have affected me for so long. What is your name? Because I'm the king, I am the queen of the temple, I'm the
Mm-hmm.
boss here, and with authority, you call them and they show up. They show up either like not face to face, but this presence that because this demon, I call it demon, you call it attachment. We call it demon because it's a hard word, it's
Mm-hmm.
harsh, but we have to deal with this demon Hollywood image. It's like horns and all this ugly stuff that image creators are so skillful in portraying. Uh, but it's not like that. It's just amorphous, intelligent energy that you're carrying. It could be another an attachment from another dead person.
Yeah.
It could be a trauma that in early childhood that grew up and turned into a self-aware self entity. It could be inherited transgenerationally in your DNA. It's
Mm-hmm.
many ways that you can have something that is affecting you.
Yeah, I'll tell you why I don't like to use the word demon because they like that word.
Okay.
There's
Okay.
there's an attachment of sense of power over that word, and that's why I call them other words.
Okay. Okay.
I
Cool.
call it trickster. I call it dark entity, whatever, you know. But I don't like to do what they like, they enjoy, and they do like that word. That's why I don't use that word. And and like you said, it's not necessarily a demon. It could be just a ghost or a negative ghost or a shadow person or some kind of energy like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but let me tell you why we call it demon. It, it's because we come from the tradition of the Tibetan lineage of Kali. Kali is the Indian goddess that demons are fearful of.
Hmm.
This is the primordial exorcist. I mean, the image of Kali is horrible. It's this goddess with tongue, bloody, with skulls in their necklace. I mean, arms hanging as a skirt. You know, it's
Hmm.
like so. And this scareful goddess, demons are fearful of. So this is the so we so that this Buddhist monk that is part of our team and is the one that do the heavy lifting in the process during the ceremony. Uh, just is in his tradition because he's a Buddhist monk. He's ordained and prepared to invoke the goddess of Kali to remove this demon.
Okay, I
So, so,
see.
so you demon, here's Kali. Okay, you better run away. You know,
Yeah,
so because it comes with the power of the goddess of primordial exorcist. That
yeah.
it
I've
is the
worked
only goddess that the demons fear.
I've worked with Callie, but she shows up like I don't call on her. She
Okay,
shows up when I do my
well,
shamanic work.
but I think you're doing a great job.
Yeah. She's she's
Congratulations.
quite a amazing energy. Like if you're familiar with soul retrieval,
Yeah, yeah, so
she's helped me with some of those.
yeah, yeah,
Some of
yeah.
the
Fantastic,
um
fantastic.
yeah, she is just be careful when you call on her, especially
Well,
if
the monk is the
personally.
only one that calls her. We don't
Yeah.
call her. This is the
Yeah.
guy that really prepared because he's
'Cause
from her lineage, trained in
Right.
Tibet for that. He comes from that monastery.
Right. I'm
So,
just saying, like, I've known people who call on her for help, and imagine a chessboard and she'll wipe it out. She'll wipe
uh-huh,
out everything,
yeah,
and for your highest good, but not, that's hard when everything falls apart.
uh-huh,
So just be careful that you personally don't call
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
Kali like that.
Yeah, yeah, but personally, thank you for telling me that, because personally, I'm very careful with Cowley.
Yeah.
I let him, the monk, do that.
Yeah. So
We,
what happens over the 4 days? Why does
well,
it take 4 days?
4 days, because some of these entities are so embedded and recalcitrant and powerful that one day, most of the time, is not enough. If we don't succeed in the first day, for sure in the second, the third, or the fourth, something big is going to happen, a major breakthrough, and we
Mm,
work for that breakthrough. And when that happens, sometimes in the last day, uh, eh, the person comes like, "Wow, it's worth every penny." It was like total gratitude. A person changes his face, the expression, their attitudes. Is when they come back, their wives or husbands are very happy of what happened, because have a new person as a couple. I mean, and we get feedback from third parties that around that person are saying, "Listen, this is a new person." So we want to make sure that they come back home with that breakthrough. Uh, we have seen one case that we couldn't do anything, and that person is looking forward to come back, because
mm.
this person is persistent and resilient, and this person knows by the other people around that what she saw, that this is works, and it's a matter of keep banging on it, and it will happen. She has the trust that this happen, and she's making plans to do it again.
Yeah. So I
That that
find,
that, that difficult are they? I mean, it's
yeah,
not
there's
easy.
a right.
It's not easy.
You can't
For,
help
for,
everyone. There's two people in my business, in Reiki and shamanic healing. I wasn't able to help, and that's because they were listening to the voices
mm,
and not me.
hmm
So you have that person that wants this healing and clearing, they have to be 100% committed to getting rid of that entity. If
hmm
there's a part of them that relies on that entity or listens to that entity for advice, it's going to be hard to get that entity off of them.
hmm Okay, I get it. That's true. Totally true.
So, what happens? I'm curious with the Tibetan monk. What So say you successfully get this entity off of that person. wh- What does the monk do with that entity? Did they get banished? Did they get sent to the light? What happens to them?
Well, this answer has two parts. One uh, is confidential, uh, and we disclose that to the people that are going to which is the last part of the extraction. The first part of the extraction is public, and it goes like this. What happens is that when and in this state, and we explain this to the participant, be aware, because in this quantum field where you exist, uh, it's everything is there, but and these entities are there with your ego. But what happens is in this psychedelic state, uh, you will realize that there's a correspondence of this entity with your physical body. Okay, and you realize that they are located somewhere in your body, and it could be in the liver, in your stomach, in your throat, in one leg, and they move around. These entities, these energies are domiciled somewhere in your physical body, and this is where they extract from the quantum field the life force of your energy. And that's why they are parasites. They
Mhm.
live from you. And to sustain their living, they have to keep provoking the behavior that produces the psychic energy from which they feed. So it's a loop, it's a parasite. So if you're alcoholic, I stimulate your alcoholic consumption because when you're drunk, this energy feeds me. But when you in that psychedelic state, I realize, oh, I feel something here. It's here. So there's a ceremonial instrument, very ancient, that is called the furba. BHRU, B like in boy, A. You Google that, furba. It's like a dagger, okay? It's a, it's a ceremonial dagger.
Mhm.
It's being in museums and you can buy them online, and it's normally from bronze or crystal or something. It's like a dagger, but it's a three-bladed dagger, okay? It's not two. And it represents the three energies, and it's not sharp like it punctures you. It's just round. So it's not about killing anyone with it. It's about pinpoint. It's about pinning down this energy in that spot with the energy of the monk, and go through that tip of that dagger. And when because the patient goes like, oh, here, no, and you go start testing with the dagger in the spot that the participant is the participant that knows where the demon is. It's not the shaman. So it's out here, and then, oh, no, no, ouch, there, 1 inch to the left or to the right, no, 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 right there, ouch, and it hurts. So it's not that he's pushing hard. It's just an energy there that is being pinned down. So it stays there and pinned down, so it doesn't move around. So it pins down with energy, with psychic energy of the shaman, pinned down there. Okay, don't move it. I have you there. The participant is concentrating there too, like containing this energy there. And then he applies the extraction technique. Uh, that we disclose later. And then when that happens, it's a 5-10 minute process. You feel it. And it's gone, and the area is clean with alcohol, and everything's clean, and it's a ritual about that. And those papers are later burned ceremonially at the end of the ceremony, and offered to the universe to do for these energies to continue their evolution from with the loving attitude. It's not about killing or destroying. It's allowing them to transform themselves into something else and get it out of the person. And that's how it goes. And the
Mhm.
amount and the relief is immediate. You know that something happened. It's not like,
Mhm.
well, the shaman says that he must be right. No, no, it's like, oh, thank you very much. It's like a thorn that is removed. It's, oh, yes. So this is why it happened to me, and then you don't have to convince anyone else. I mean, I'm a believer and advocate of the technology. It
Mhm.
works. It changed my
That's
life.
yeah, that's so interesting. I've
It's
never heard of using
it's a
that
it's a
that
physical extraction. It's a physical
yeah.
extraction, uh, and and that's why me, that I'm so science minded, got into it, because I see it. It's like, look,
Mhm.
it's not like, well, it removed, and okay, really, it really went away. Well, I guess no, no, no. It's like, oh, damn, thank you. And from there on, the person is like different. So
Mhm.
it's impressive. So
Yeah, I mean, we
we're
you
happy,
can
very happy for with
you
what we're
you
doing.
can see the results of this even with energy healing and Reiki. They come in looking a certain way and they leave like a looking like a different person.
Yes, yes.
So there is proof if you can notice the changes and if you can feel the energy
Hmm, hmm,
changes as well.
hmm, hmm,
They just look so much better, so much
hmm.
happier. Like a weight's been lifted off of them, literally.
hmm But let me tell you something. I not mean to diminish anyone else's work, because with ayahuasca, we experience that too. People that remove things and they feel good and and renewed and reborn, and they come back home and their family members are very happy. But because with the passage of time, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months later, there's a tendency to fall back into the old patterns. And I have experienced myself in ayahuasca, in my own transformation and breakthroughs. Wow, now I'm free of this. And a year later, wait a minute, I'm doing the same thing I was doing before this release. So, so yes, it's sometimes is. I mean, obviously at the beginning it's very obvious, but my my experience is with my long-standing experience ayahuasca, at least in ayahuasca, many times there's healing that falls back into the old pattern. Sometimes it's permanent. So my theory is that when that happens, is that you haven't really touched down on the bottom of the issue. Sometimes yes, and it's forever. I find people 5 years later in the shopping mall that drank ayahuasca one time. Hey, how you doing? And my family is great. I never drink ayahuasca again. You fixed my life. Thank you. 5 years later, and the wife is happy, and my kids. And this guy was troubled, and with one ceremony of ayahuasca changed permanently. But some of them, 6 months later, are in the same place after this supposed breakthrough. So there's a diversity of cases, and I believe that those cases are the cases that haven't really touched the bottom of this entity, of this demon, are still working there. For some reason, it appeases the entity for some time, but then it grows back into action. So,
Yeah. Or
so
it
like,
may not even be an entity. It could be just, this person had unhealthy patterns. They
yeah, that's
took the
another thing.
ayahuasca and then you continued with the unhealthy patterns when they
Yeah,
came home. So
true,
then
true.
nothing changes.
True. That we emphasize that in the integration of our program, which is at the last day is full day of integration. Each day is a little integration, but the last day is no ceremony. It's all about integration, and then we have integration online later, following up. And one thing that we emphasize is that when you remove this entity, this empty space has to be filled with light,
Hmm.
with new patterns. And if you don't do that, the tendency is to that energy or either to come back, or a sister or brother of that energy comes because you are calling it. You are God. You are powerful. If you continue, well, maybe one drink in a social situation, so you
Hmm.
start drinking again. I mean, because you contributed to welcoming back the pattern that you wanted to remove. So
Yeah.
yeah, your free will is powerful, and if you don't do your work, that happens. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. And in a Reiki practice, what
Even
we do,
even in our practice, sorry, even with this extraction so powerful that we do, if you don't do your work later, you may fall back.
right.
I mean,
So
you're the
in
king of your body, and if this is what you want, this is what you're gonna get.
in Reiki, if we remove like energy that's not for their highest good, you remove it and then you fill the space with light and Reiki and then you seal it off.
Hmm.
So when you remove it, you have to replace it
Okay,
with
right.
light. Yeah, very
Mhm.
similar.
So yeah, we are the same page. I mean, we're very
Yeah.
similar paradigms of how this works. Good. Thank you
Yeah,
for
I
sharing.
think just I'm very familiar with this because my Reiki teacher also practices shamanic healing. So I always knew there were attachments. I mean, I've had them on me and had them removed
Nice.
either by my teacher or myself. If I can figure out, what it is, you can
Right.
remove it.
Right.
And I've removed them from obviously my clients.
Hmm.
So yeah, I always knew I know what the signs are and all of that. So how can if
Tina,
people are
we need to keep talking, okay? After this podcast,
oh yeah, I have some things
we
to
are friends now, so
right,
you
right.
just talk
I
with me now.
I have some advanced things that I want to talk to you off the air because I think
Cool.
we'll
Thank you.
lose people if we
Yeah, 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 yeah.
we get into that. But
Okay,
if
okay,
people are interested in this and your process and shape and everything, where can they find you? Where can they contact you?
okay. Maybe can you type in the screen something? No. Okay.
No, just say it and
Okay.
I'll have the information in the notes, but sometimes like when I'm listening to a podcast and somebody says, "Hey, this is my website," I'll go
Good.
right into it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
go
Good.
look for it.
So it's www dot shape, like in good shape, dash my, like, and like in mother, y, dot life, LIF, like in football, E, life. So it's no longer .com.
Hmm.
Now it's .life. So shape my life is the website. There you can find a brochure, there's everything to go to Jamaica. We do this in Jamaica because it's fully legal and there's no problem with that. People, it's not. The retreat is done in a set and setting. Is so important in psychedelic experiences that we brought this to the top level of excellence, and we conduct these retreats in top quality, luxurious conditions. You have your private king bed, your private room. I mean, like a five-star hotel place in Jamaica, and we have chef and organic food. I mean, top quality setting. Uh, so yeah, it's like $5,000. This fee to cover the expenses, but it's worth it. It's the way we feel is the way to do it, and we cut off the television service, so you have to focus on the Euro process during those 4 days, and um, and it's all inclusive. We pick you up in the airport and we drop you back in the airport. Everything is included. So Shape by Life has a brochure with all the conditions. There's an interview that you need to pass to be accepted in the retreat. It's not about having the money. You have to be the person that really qualifies for this. That we feel it's only 7 participants per retreat, so we're very selective about who we select. Uh, it's because we're going to focus three facilitators in 7 people and some helping staff. Uh, is we fo- it's this is not that can be done for 20 people at a time.
No.
Something that is 7 is the maximum number that we take, sometimes 6. And for us, it's our spiritual mission. It's not becoming millionaires with this. Nobody's going to be rich with this, with 7 people retreats. Uh, but but it's very effective. Very effective. So this
Great. And again, this is Julio Rivera. He's the program director of Shape and
you
all of
can
that
you can email
information.
directly. Sorry, at Julio at shape my life. So you can, and in the website you can go and contact us, and
Yeah,
there's
all of that information will be in the show notes. So,
yeah. Good, good.
okay.
Okay,
Well,
good.
thank you, Julio, for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fascinating process, and I'm glad there's other people doing this kind of work. It's really important. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Have a good day and love to everyone. Thank you.